Hello, and welcome to today's Coppice Dev stream. This is a somewhat impromptu Sunday stream. Unfortunately, my plan of streaming over the past several days was thrown for a loop when I got a rather bad cold. So I managed to get through Thursday, but by Friday I was not in a state to stream. Yesterday, not really in the state to stream. But today, thankfully, I am just about good enough. So, we're going to get back into Coppice and get to, hopefully, where we were on Friday. Well, where I wanted to be on Friday, which is feature complete on the next version of Coppice. So, what we want to get done today is finishing off the search functionality. At the end of Thursday, we finally got image linking fully working. So the last major feature is image searching, which sort of works. We have a very simple implementation of that in place, but I want to get a more complete version in, something that actually works how we want it to, how we expect it to. So yes, we're going to work on that today. Hopefully get it done and hopefully get the UI side of things done. But let's switch over to our dev view and actually build and run and see how it currently works in terms of image searching. Then I've realized I need to update the tasks. Where has Coppice gone? Yeah. If I bring up a sample document. So for example, here we have text page. If I search for text page, it now shows up here. But what we need to do is actually, probably similarly to the strings here, return where, like the string and where it matches. And then when you click on this, we want to highlight that area briefly, because for example, if I click here, where you can see it's highlighted in the, oh, you can't actually see that, here where it's highlighted in the content area, brain wasn't working there for a second, you'll see that as I switch to it, it highlights. Now that's built into macOS. We need to do something similar here. So there are other things that we probably want to do. Is we need to look at all the code for searching and work out whether that still works, because a lot of that has been based on the assumption of text. Now, in theory, we should always be searching text because the user's typing in text and we're matching against it, and any data types that we have now or in future, the search will always be on some text-based representation of them. But we need to determine whether that is good enough, whether we need to tweak it. So if we start going through here, the first thing we want to do is revisit search architecture. Because what the search does is it goes through and asks all of our page content, because each page has its own content, because these are all the same sort of page type, but you have different content in them. It asks them to search and basically return, I believe it's a range and a few other bits and pieces. Then we want to implement image search and add highlight API for search. I believe if I go to canvases and I was to add this and this, I search for page. Yeah, it highlights in all of them, so I need it to also highlight in here. So, and it only highlights the first instance of it. So we'll have to make sure that it does that as well. Right, so let's see what we can get done here. So the first thing we want to do is go and have a look at our search architecture. Add highlight API for search, and then we will leave that empty for now. I have actually gone through if I open up the Jira app, I have gone through and filled out a bunch of additional bugs. So I've noticed some bugs around not being able to edit the page title. Some things that aren't really bugs is having large image pages seems to be slow. As I was moving and resizing on, when I say large canvases, they aren't very big, but that seems to be slow. And then I want to try and improve the logic of where a page is open. Hi Uli, how are you doing this Sunday? Hope you're doing well today. But yeah, so after we get the search done, we may not get to this stuff today because search may take a while. We have a few bug fixes to do, and then some accessibility stuff and performance stuff, and then we need to update things such as the manual, the FLE, and we'll actually get into stuff like I'll need to update the press kit, I'll need to update the website, I'll need to update all these things. So we'll be moving that away from the app development to the app shipping and marketing side of things. You're doing okay. Trying to implement a data structure that won't quite work. You're not trying to do the blockchain, are you, Uli? There's a data structure that won't quite work. Hey, so this is something. Ooh, sunglasses. Nice. I forgot you could mod emotes. How are you doing today, Sinister Something? Right. Where are we? Image, page, content. Ooh. Give me 1 second. I have just realised I don't have any tissues nearby and I need to blow my nose because cold. I will be 1 sec. Okay, I am back. It's just typical that I finish a deadline on contract work. I have basically 5 days free in which to work on my own apps, and 2 of those days I've been ill. So Thankfully, I'm still ill today, but thankfully I can work, so I'm getting caught up. But yeah, other than that, development's not too bad. I'm hoping today we will get the next version of Coppice feature complete once we get this searching implemented. So we will get all of this hopefully implemented pretty well. And then once the searching is implemented, we can start looking at some of the fun things, because I've wanted to look at performance for a while, because I have noticed Coppice does get kind of slow. And I need to work out exactly where it's getting slow. Right, so we want to get the first range of a search term. Okay, I think text page, text editor. There, a highlight. Right, so there's a highlight range. I believe that is just called model highlighted range. Date highlighted range with search term. Actually want to do that. I'm wondering whether what we actually want to do here, you get your search string, go to document window, view model, because this is the document window view model is basically where all the window level stuff, like the current selection, the current sidebar selection, lives. Someone's alarm's going off, so let's shut a window. Much quieter. So, where are we? Perform without updating selection. We just saw the search string. Okay. So in the sidebar view model, we observe that. Nice search result. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is rename some stuff, because I have search string somewhere and search term elsewhere. Let's search for search term. Let's search for search string. Oh good, it's about 50-50. Right, let's just search term to search string, because to me search term implies only one, whereas search string implies multiple. I'll do that. I'll do the capital. And it'll build and run and see that something has failed. Nope, all compiles. Who needs refactoring tools when you've got project-wide find and replace? Right. So now that we have this, so we're going to update our sidebar.
I don't understand them.
I'm going to update the sidebar, the search string. That's all going to update in there. Search results view controller. Alright, so it's the title is arranged, the content is in this string. What I think we may want is an opaque type. Not necessarily an opaque type, but something where the content is just some general type, and we are going to stick our, because text we want an NS range, and we do want an NS range for images, but we need to know we ideally need to know where the search result is. So we need to know which result we're matching. I suppose. Let's see if we can make this work the simple way without changing too much. Always go for the easy option first, rather than trying to completely refactor everything. No, because we need to make sure they're consistent, so we are going to have to change that slightly. So we want a content match type. And what does that content match need to give? So first range of goes there, which goes there, and that just returns those. Goes to page matches. And we have a page search result. Right, so for the content, we want how are we getting the content? Then we want to get the string. So we want this to actually return. We want this type to return string. So the content needs a reference to can I do protocol I want to call it page content match. I've deleted that there. If I add my protocol, oh wait, page content match and any object. It needs to return a range and a string. And we don't care too much beyond that. Then we can have a struct extension text page content struct match is a page content match. That is going to have a var range, a var text page content, and hold a text page content, and the var string, which is just going to return text page content dot string. We're going to do the same here, but we have the range is going to be DNS range. We're just going to return the string. But I think we should also put on the recognized text. We want to get the bounds. We want the recognized text because, yeah, because we want to get the bounds later. That's going to have a page content match. And rather than first range of, first match. Gonna have to, can't do a refactor for that because you can't change the arguments. First range of. Alright, so if it's first range of score, we want to change that to first range for search string. That is a far better name. And we do that, and we're looking good. Okay. Build and run and see how that goes. Ah yes, equatable. Does that need to be equatable? That needs to be public. Right, let's add the protocol stub here. Never actually done this pattern match. Well, I think I have, but I haven't done it in a long time. Turn content 1 dot range 2 dot range. Otherwise, turn false. So how has everyone's weekend been? Have you been up to much this weekend? Well, you tested out rigging. What have you been rigging up? One of your animator, or have you been playing around with something else? Been a long time since I tried rigging something in 3D. I used to play around with 3D a lot as a kid, and I remember first getting access to like bones in 3D and rigging basic stuff up, but this was like, God, would this have been? Like 15, 20 years ago I was playing around this, so it was very basic. Oh, Kurzik's animator. How's that coming along? I've been meaning to ask you about that and see what it, see how it's turning out. Yeah, I have broken. Oh, for the cape to unwrap. That will be awesome if you can get that working. I've been kind of thinking what to do with my own stream. Like whether to try and make something a bit more like the 3D stuff, like Dog Swift and stuff. Especially after I went and looked at the Barry is streaming his April Fool's stream thing, and it certainly will make things a bit more interesting and a bit more interactive to be able to make it a bit more being able to move around and stuff. But I think that's quite a way down the line. That may be something that I start working on the Wednesday streams once I get like streamlined to a place where I'm happy on it, and I want to do some like the motion graphics stuff. So maybe I'll play around a bit with seeing what I can come up with to make this a bit more interactive and interesting, because it needs it when you're programming, because you need other stuff going on to make it a properly interesting stream. And it's one of those things of, I know how to program. I got into programming because I enjoy, because I wanted to make games and stuff. I've done 3D in the past, and at some point I want to learn Blender again. Well, I say again, I want to learn it. It's one of those things that I've looked at, and then most modern 3D programs, it's sort of, I couldn't really get it working, so I couldn't really grasp them as well, because I was used to a very different older version. An app that I don't know if Uli would know it's a newer version of it, but it was Stratavision originally, then it's Strata 3D. And the reason Uli may know it is because it's the other component of, along with HyperCard, that was used to build Myst. So that's going back well into the 90s of 3D programming. But yeah, I do think I could do some quite interesting stuff with the character, especially in 3D, because I have, with the design, I have this big screen that I could like swap stuff out. So if like at some point I wanted to put something on camera, I could like show my own face or something like that for some reason. I could have that flash up on it, like basically turn it into a green screen on the camera, if I made like a 3D model, make it a flat green screen, and I can basically chroma key it out when I have stuff like when I bring up my iPad. At the moment, it slides in. Ooh, that is not showing up. Is that plugged in? Why is my iPad not showing up? That's plugged in. Properties. That wasn't plugged in all the way. That would be why. Oh no, that's plugged in now. Still not showing up. There we go. But yeah, I could have that appear on the character. And then one of the bits I like about the design is not having arms, because the arms retract in. But if the arms retract in, what else is in there that could sort of like just shoot out and have more than just arms, have like tools and stuff that come out? So there's a lot. I'm really proud of the character design, because I've never been great at characters, but there's just a lot of, it's very simple, but there's a lot of potential things to do there. So, and having him where he can just go around the screen and move around, it would be a lot of fun. So yeah, it's something that I'd like to do at some point, and like slowly build it up, as a bit like Doig has done, because it would certainly make the stream a lot more interesting, just in terms of the interactivity. And I could have different rooms, so when I'm just talking like this, switch to something else. So yeah, it's something that I would like to do and like to play with on stream sometime. So we'll see how things go. I mean, I've spent a decent amount of time building the stream and all the setup for it, but it's at the point where it's like, I want to put more in, but the next steps are sort of, I can't just chip away bit by bit. I've got to put a lot of time in, and it's just working on that. I can't really take a lot of time off to work on that when I'm working on like my own. I need to work on Coppice. So that's why I'm thinking the Wednesday streams may be useful. So we'll see. I may actually also be streaming this coming Friday. Normally it would be one of my 4-day contracting weeks, but I was reminded, and it depends on whether my I'm hoping that the manager for my contract is okay with it. I was reminded that it's Easter next weekend, so technically the Friday and the Monday are bank holidays in the UK, so it's technically a holiday. So hopefully I get the Friday off and I'm able to work pretty much all day, stream all day there, and get a lot more done. So right, so what do we need to do here? We need this. Return a match. And what we're actually going to do is going to shift these. Yeah, we're going to shift these into their respective classes. So how long do you think it will be before you We're ready to show the Kurzik Animata Sinister. And a match first. Yeah, I think for Kurzik it makes a lot of sense to try and get some animation in there. So what are you trying with the rendering then, rather than just a simple one? Are you just playing around with new options in the renderer? Realise I'd reverted my code size. A fair point. Shortcuts. The Xcode shortcuts. Sadly, no. Ah. Yeah, having the character do something. Ooh, that's a fair point. Just reminds me, do I actually still have something that I did in university? I'm trying to see whether I have animation. I don't suppose it was. Art of speech tagging. My dissertation. plane, texture 2D. Thing is, I don't think I have Java installed to try running this. Java. I do. Okay, let me try something. I want to see whether this works, and it'll be fun to see if it works on stream. That. Open a new terminal. To my assignment. Other assignment. Okay, let me try looking at something. I'm curious whether I have. I can't find it. Do I? Test. Might be. Aha! You want 3D animation? See some 3D animation, Sinister. This is some amazing 3D animation of the likes that Pixar could only dream of. Now, there is a chance you're thinking, that doesn't seem particularly amazing, except I did not use a 3D program to do that. The entire thing's written in code. That was a university assignment where they gave us the basic code for setting up all OpenGL stuff, but this is all OpenGL programming. So if I go and where was it? Personal University. Actually, can I open this in Xcode? But yeah, if I open this one, should open in Xcode. So yeah, jumping lamp. some stuff to set up the UI, start, stop, all the texture, set the animation running, and then it displays, it sets up the camera, and then I progress the animation. And here we draw the global light, we draw the lamp, where we do all of our stuff, and then we determine like how tall it is and all stuff like that. So it is all just written in OpenGL code. Well, it's actually not that difficult. So display scene works where it basically draws it time and time again. So this isn't too dissimilar from how something like Unity works. It's just this is a lot more basic level. The whole things of game engines like Unity and stuff is they put a lot of stuff on top of that, so you can import stuff like like 3D models and stuff from Blender in, and do it rather than having to do it all in code. But you basically display the scene. I believe this is... Yeah, so you get display that is called. It sets up a bunch of stuff, and then it calls display scene. In display scene, we're basically drawing our lamp, which sets up the height, rotation, and then draws it. Then we draw the plane and stuff, and then we draw the wall. And then what happens here in progress animation is we're basically just like, okay, we're going to move towards the wall. So when the lamp's X coordinate and the lamp's Z coordinate, just like you're doing in Blender, when it's less than 100 and the Z is equal to 0, we just keep moving the X forward by 2. And I think it's running like 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second. So we just keep moving by 2. When we get over 100, and lamp Z divided by 20 is less than or equal to math.pi. Well, that's basically moving around in a semicircle. Otherwise, we're moving back towards the camera. Otherwise, we're moving around. So this is just moving it in a loop. And all we're doing here is we move the lamp up, and when it finishes a jump, we just move it down. We do some stuff to update the angles. So this is like rotating the neck, like the upper neck and the lower neck. So a lot of this is just writing code. Okay, so how do we draw the lamp? Here. So this isn't as low level as you can get, but it's about as low level as you can get. So we set all our base rotations, then we push a matrix where we create a solid cylinder. I don't know what exactly the properties are, but I believe it's like the height, like the distance and the size of it, and possibly that won't be the rotation, it'll be the size of it, and then we just translate it because it gets created at the origin. And then we translate it, then we rotate it. Then we push another thing, and we create another cylinder, and we translate it. Another one, rotate it, we draw the upper neck, draw the head. So it's basically drawing a solid cylinder, a sphere, a solid cylinder, and then for the head we draw a cone, and for the bulb we just draw a sphere. We put some like textures on for emission from the lamp, and then we pop all the stuff back up. So I mean, this is all stuff, this is basically how you do it. It's just like you would do this. If you were drawing this in a 3D program, you draw a cylinder, then you'd move it about, you'd draw another cylinder, you'd move it about, you'd draw a sphere, and you'd move it about, and so on. And basically, every frame, it's just draw cylinder, draw cylinders, draw sphere, and it's just constantly going through again and again and again, and drawing that to the screen. And this is how, at the most basic level, how every 3D program works, how every 3D game works. This is basically like all the stuff that you're seeing on screen here is 3D accelerated. So it's like all this stuff on screen is effectively done the same way. Oh, you do need to see what you're making. And this is why people build things like 3D programs. This is why people build things like Unity that allow you to do that, because it is very hard to do. Now you can get around this where, okay, well, I know I need a cylinder, so what I'll do is I'll do the cylinder and I'll build and run. Okay, I can see a cylinder. Then I'll put another cylinder on where I think it should be, and I'll build and run, and that doesn't look quite right, so I'll tweak a few of the numbers. So you just do it. It's not as iterative. That's why 3D programs are generally better, because you don't have to wait for it to build and run every time and just tweak a few numbers. You can see it immediately. But fundamentally, this is what they're doing behind the scenes. When you're tweaking, like when you are grabbing a cylinder and shifting it up and down, it's tweaking these values. That's all it's doing. It's telling the graphics card, this thing here needs to be translated by this much. That's when you're translating. When you're rotating, you're doing the same thing. It's just calling this. So behind the scenes, you are doing all of this. It's just a 3D drawing package makes it simpler. So that's effectively all it's doing. But that is how 3D works. I mean, doing all the animation stuff is just calculating it out. I mean, essentially that is the way that 3D used to be done, really, back in the day. I mean, not even that, even more low level than that. They had to do it all by hand, calculating all the maths of where all the points would be by hand before programming them into the computer. And they'd only see when it was right when they fully rendered it out. They didn't get any sort of preview. Like there, that is doing live graphics on the GPU. They didn't have that back in the day. They had to render it to see. So yeah, but I mean, that's something I'm most proud of. But I mean, like all that animation where it's flexing and stuff, like you can see how I've got it jump up and then flexes out and then jump and compress and jump and compress. So the animation, if I bring it up again, so you can see if I go down to display scene. So we're drawing lamp and we're doing the lamp base angle, lamp lower neck angle, upper neck angle, and head angle. We also, before we have the lamp, we're translating it by lamp X, lamp Y, lamp Z, and we're rotating by lamp angle. So we set the position, we set the rotation, and we draw the lamp. And if all of these were just set plain, there would be no jump animation. Well, there would be, it just wouldn't flex and bounce. But what it does is it's running through this, and where are we? While the animation is running, so in order to display anything, it has to do this all the time. So when it is stopped, it is just constantly redrawing the same thing again and again and again. But when So the thing that changes it is when this progress animation is called. And like I say, we've got lamp X, lamp Y, lamp Z. So that is where the lamp should be, both moving forwards, backwards, side to side, and height. We've got the angle, so how should it rotate? And then we've got things such as the base angle, the lower neck angle. So if I bring up, you can see as it jumps, the base rotates a bit and then rotates back. You've got the neck and so on that are bouncing back and forward. And the head stays mostly, but you can see how it compresses down a bit more before it does the bounce there. And when it's bouncing over the wall, it stretches out more. So the way it does that is in this progress animation, where, like I say, it is just moving along. So if I bring up my iPad, I can actually draw this for you. So if we bring up some, let's say a grid. Yeah. So let's say like this. We've got our wall, let's say our wall is here. Actually, no, let's move that down. So wall is here, and we start here, and we've got X, that's our Z, and our Y is sort of coming out at us, because the Y is the height. So as we're moving along here, while the lamp is less than 100, so let's say this is 100 on the x-axis, here, it moves along, and every time it clicks through, which it's going through, let's say 30 frames a second, it probably is low, maybe 24, maybe even 15. In fact, does it actually say anywhere here? Oh, it's 12 frames a second. But every time it does that, we're doing lamp.x plus 2, and the lamp angle is 0. So every time we're saying move the lamp forward 2, and forward 2, and forward 2, and forward 2, and forward 2. So at this thing, if we didn't have any of this other stuff, the lamp would just basically keep moving in this direction. And by making the lamp angle 0, the rotation means that the lamp is facing that way. Then if we look at the lamp here we're moving around in a semicircle. So this is just using trigonometry to basically, when we get to this point, the lamp X is plus equals 2 times cosine of minus lamp over 20, which I believe sets the radius of it. Meanwhile, the Z is 20 times math.pi over 50. I can't remember why I did these exact things, but it's basically just doing a semicircle round. And then we're changing the angle by plus 3.6 degrees. So it's like going from there to there to there to there. If we didn't change the angle, it would be sort of pointing this way and this way and this way. But instead, each time I worked out that if you do it by 3.6 at this exact radius, it goes around. And then we get here. So we get to this part here where it's minus 2 and 180. And all that is saying is once we go back to 100, what we're going to do is do minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. But the angle is pointing in that direction because we're going 180 degrees. And then we move to the, where are we? So we move to the starting position. So we basically go back to here. And then we do another loop round. Where again, we're using all the same things to do a semicircle, and then we reset to 0. Now for the height, let's see if the let's lamp wide, jumps from start, update lamp angle. So therefore, what we do here is we do jumps, and I've worked out, this is all done manually. I worked out that I do one jump. So we've got our 0 jump, our 1 jump, and then our 2 jump we do higher. So here what we're doing for all these angles is these are all just on a sine curve or a cos curve. So you've got your sine. Oh, that isn't particularly good. Got your sine and cosine curves, and these are all of your basic animation curves. Everything that you go where you're cycling back and forward, you just use sine or cosine effectively. It's just maths to get all that working. So you basically go through these curves and you make it go around where it's nicely going back and forth and back and forth. And this is just alternating the angles back and forth a bit and back and forth a bit. And this is alternating a bit more where we get the state. Set the state of. Let's say to the base. This is 7 as a lamp wire split into 14 segments. We need this to go up to 2 pi. Okay, so that, and then we set all of our angles back to the beginning. We compress more on our second jump because we've gone higher and then we've gone lower. So our jump here is we're stretching out higher and then compressing lower. So it's all just maths where we have these curves where you start off with your lamp like this. And then it sort of it jumps and then stretches out a bit, and then gets up to there at its tallest, moves down, and then lands back down, but compresses. So this is all just, okay, what angle is this from the x-axis? What angle is that? What angle is that? What angle is that? So you're getting all the angles between it. So it's all similar stuff to you're doing, it's just it's all done in code. So oh, I realized I wasn't showing my screen for that. So you can see all the different angles that you're working out. So you got an angle there, an angle there, an angle there, and so on that you're working out. So yeah, the only thing I'm trying to work out is, aha, here we are, jump from start. So the normal jump height is 8, but when jumps from start is 2, the jump height is 25. So that is how you can see we've got all. So the base is just rocking back and forth, and everything else is just bouncing, and you can see how it compresses down and then boom. Like, it's very, very basic for animation, but it was a lot of fun to do because a lot of it was sort of tweaking and just getting it as good as possible. I think the textures were my own thing because I think they were like extra credit things. What do you mean by function-based motion, Sinister? Oh, yes and no. Yes, it only works for function-based motions. But the thing is, everything fundamentally uses all this stuff. All the stuff I've written there is basically calling into OpenGL. That is how everything works. All the difference, any other sort of animation, would all be doing the exact same things. Fundamentally, all you can do in 3D is when you have something, you can translate it, you can rotate it. That's effectively all you can do. I mean, you can do a lot more, but those are the fundamental things. You are translating and you are rotating. Then you do things like you texture and stuff like that, but all this is get a shape, translate it, rotate it, get a shape, translate it, rotate it, translate, rotate, scale. That's the other thing. When you got something, you can scale it up and down. So translate, scale, rotate. Those are all your basic actions. And it's all just translations of points. And the key thing is that GPUs are designed to do those actions incredibly quickly, and they can be done in parallel because you're operating on many points at once. Well, that's fundamentally all you're doing. That is all animation is. Like, when you boil it down to it, animation is just translation, rotation, and scale. But you have a lot of ifs in there. So, for example, if the jumps from start is equal to 2, then I jump higher. Otherwise, I jump the regular amount. Now, I have set that to 2. I could make that configurable. I could make all of these values configurable. And I could do it where I've written all this stuff down here, but you can write it so that it actually does it in a manner that you are recording various actions. So you can do all these various actions and basically translate. You record, okay, at this point I want to move here, then at this keyframe I want to be here, and then you can interpolate between them. And for 3D, interpolation is incredibly simple. You just do it's like if you move between, well, if I say, in fact, let's clear this. If I am here, I am here, then the interpolation is, okay, I'm going to go there, 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 and there. And that is just a straight linear animation. Or you can have a curve like this, where you're sort of ease out, I believe, where you would go there, 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 there. So you sort of do it like that. Or you do your ease in, or you can have your ease in out, which is that. So all you're doing is interpolating between there, and you're going do, do, do. Now you may be saying, well, what if I don't want to go in a straight line? What if I want to actually move from there to there, but I want to go through here? and I want to go through there. Well, that's when we get into something that I'm not going to go into in too much detail, but that is when you start getting into Bezier curves, which are another fun thing, which is what we have used for the all of the stuff in Coppice where we've drawn all the hotspots and stuff. That's using something called NS Bezier curve. If you've ever used any vector drawing package, you have probably used Bezier curves, and all they are is you have a point, you have your control points, and it's just a series of, this is just an algorithm that works this out. So if I was to do a vector that looks like that, that can be represented by a mathematical equation. Just create a bunch of arguments for all of these points and control points, and a mathematical equation can represent that. You can actually, you can use a graphing program to, for example, draw. I mean, you could draw my character in a graphing program if you have the things. Just a single equation can actually draw my character in the graphing program, or draw any character. You can draw pretty much anything in a graphing program with the right equation. Those equations are very complicated, but you can do it. So it is all fundamentally this stuff, like this code. It is just a case of I hard coded this, whereas Blender has made this a lot more flexible, a lot more modular. So they have it where they draw various things. They basically saved it all as data and pulled it all back in. And it's basically, Josh Siri, it's basically a bit like with Coppice. I could have hard coded all of the data into Coppice and said, okay, you've got a canvas, and that canvas just draws, and that canvas looks a particular way, it's laid out a particular way. I can write code that draws that very easily. But to have it where you can actually visually move that stuff around, add stuff, remove stuff, resize stuff, I've had to add all the stuff in, and that resize and that updates data, which updates the UI and so on. So it's all the same fundamental thing there. So all you are really doing by using Blender is using an abstraction. You are basically avoiding all the complexity there by using something that hides that complexity so that you can deal with the next layer of complexity. Just like how when I was building all of the functionality in Coppice for the automatic image linking and the image searching we're doing now, I am building upon Apple's vision frameworks. And they hide all the complexity of optical character recognition and machine learning stuff that helps do corrections and stuff on that. It's a very complex thing to do reliably in the way Apple has able to make it that reliable. But for me, it's just a few calls to an API. But that allows me to do the next level of complexity. So it's abstractions all the way down. When you get to anything with technology, it's abstractions all the way down. All you're really doing is pushing electrons around on a circuit at very fast speed. What you are seeing on screen now is just ones and zeros. That animation is ones and zeros. What you're working on is ones and zeros. What you are hearing is my voice translated into ones and zeros and then converted back. So it's amazing how much you can get done with two numbers. One of my favorite descriptions of the computer, or more precisely, how to describe computer processors and all silicon manufacturing, is basically it's teaching sand to think. I think one thing to realise is that you can be thankful, oh, I don't have to deal with the technical side. The thing is, you are dealing with the technical side. Everyone is. It's just, it hides away some of the technical side of it. It's no different than you buying a pen. You don't have to deal with the technical side of developing a pen that writes well, that flows well, the inks that work well. For paint, you don't have to work all the pigments and stuff like that. In the past, people had to make their own pigments and stuff like that. Now you can just buy the pigments, you can buy the ready mixed paints, and you can get on with the higher level technical stuff. Like Coppice would have, if it was like, 30 years ago, would have taken a rather large team a long time to build. I am able to build it by myself because I'm building upon all these abstractions. And it's the same with you. Like, you are doing all the stuff that I wrote in code. It's just a different way. Whereas I would change a bit of code, change a number in code, you're changing a number in the text field. We're both doing the exact same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. And it just so happens that the way you're doing it ends up being more efficient, which means you can get way more done way faster. So you're still doing all the technical side of it. You're still having to think about the same things. It's just, it's been made more efficient for you. Yeah, Uli's right. It always sounds worse than it is when it comes to programming. People think programming is, oh, I've got to be very technically minded. I've got to know huge amounts of mathematics and so on. No, you need to know logic. And logic is fairly simple. If X is true, do this. Otherwise, do this other thing. You can teach that to a child. A loop, you can teach that to a child. So that you are effectively programming, just in a different way. I mean, 3D programs are 3D drawing packages and so on, or any drawing package really is a programming package. In a sense, you're telling the computer the steps needed to draw something. Especially in 3D, because you do not have a rasterized version. If you're just painting bitmaps, you're just changing a few pixels. Obviously, when you get stuff like Photoshop and stuff, it's a lot more complex because they do various things like that. But for 3D, you are basically telling, okay, I want a sphere here, I want a cylinder here, I want to scale it, I want to change all these things. And in the beginning, they could only do spheres and cylinders and cones and cubes and so on. But when they made tools that allowed them to do that without having to write it all in code and write all the maths down and work it out, it allowed them to move on to other stuff. And then you get stuff like rigging stuff up. You get fluid simulations, cloth simulations, and so on. And where it's stuff that can just be dropped in and integrated with other stuff. It's one of those things of when you make the complex stuff simple, you make the impossible stuff complex but possible. And then when that becomes simple and usable, the next level of impossible stuff becomes possible but complex, and so on. As the I believe it's the Isaac Newton quote, if I've seen farther, it is only because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. yeah, Lily's spot on. It's just combining simple things into complex things. It's basically, I wouldn't say Lego. I mean, to some degree it's Lego. But it's like Lego where you've got to do all the connecting bits between it, so... I mean, for example, here. Let's look at this as an example. What do I want to do? I want to get the first match for a search string. That's fairly obvious, but how do I actually tell the computer to do that? Well, I have recognized text, which I've realized should be pluralized. Let's see if I can do that now. Let's go to complain. Oh, for once it doesn't. Recognize text. So, I got the recognized text. Now, what do I want to do? Well, I want to get the first match. So in there, I tell this array of recognized text, that's just a list of all the recognized text. I want the first one where some condition is true. And the condition I want to true is 0. Actually, first where. Actually, I don't want to do it that way. What I want to do instead, and the reason I don't want to do it that way is because I need a bit more information. So for recognize text and recognize text, so instead we're going to loop through this way. And what we're going to do is we want to check each one in turn for a range. We're going to do let found range. Well, let NSString equals $0.string as NSString. So all I'm doing, I don't want to do that. All I'm doing here is we're going through each recognized text, getting one out. We're asking for its string, and then converting. We'll ignore this for now. That's type systems. Type systems as both simple and complex. But then on here, we're gluing things together. We've got this bit here where we're pulling a string out, and then we're asking this, what is the range of our search string? So we've got some text here, we've got some other text. Does this appear in here? If so, at what point does it start? At what character does it start, and how many characters does it last for? Okay, that's great. Now, it may say the location is not found. If it's not found, then what we're going to do is continue. In fact, what we'll do is make that a guard is not equal to not found, else continue. That basically just reverts things. It makes it a bit safer in this language, because if I didn't have to continue, it wouldn't compile. But all we're basically saying is make sure that the location is not equal to not found, otherwise continue to the next item. If it is found, then what we're going to do is we're going to return our we'll return a match which is going to contain found range. It's going to contain recognize text.string, and it's going to contain the recognized text. Actually, that's a fair point. Why do we need to pass the string in? We've got the recognized text and the string is in there. Var string return recognize text.string. Otherwise, we get to the end, we haven't found anything, we're going to return now. Now there's one small thing here that we haven't done, which is this stuff here. And this is again where it is useful, because going through a string and finding, okay, where does this other string start and how long is it? That is actually a somewhat complex thing to do. Or rather, it's very simple to do, but doing it efficiently can be somewhat complex. So Apple have their own algorithms, but you have other things to take into account. For example, what if someone searches for page, but it is saved as page? Well, they don't match. So we want to make it case insensitive. And again, that is complex to do because you need to do that in the Latin alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, what other ones are there? Hebrew, Arabic, all these different languages, you need to do that. So you do case insensitive. And then you need to do, okay, but what if you had like diacritics in? Like that. Does that match against that? Well, we want it to, because we don't want people to have to always type diacritics in. So we do diacritic insensitive. And again, we have just added a few things, put a few bits together, and all this complex stuff is handled by this. Now, unfortunately, when you're trying to get jobs at places, like the big companies, they ask you, how do you implement all these algorithms? And then you never actually implement those algorithms. You learn them at university. Some job interviews ask you for them, but most of the time you are just calling someone else's implementation, because the fact is a very smart person has done all the work for you and found the most efficient way of doing it. And that is just the same as using Blender, or Photoshop, or anything like that. Some smart person has found the efficient way of doing it, has built the tools for you to stick together. So most programming is no different than Blender. In fact, I would argue most programming is simpler than something like Blender or Photoshop or something like that. So it's just when you get onto the more complex things, and then finding bugs. Writing code is easy. Fixing bugs in code is where the difficulty is. Oh. That needs to be public, and text page content needs to be public. What is that complaining about? Self? Oh yeah, we need to public, public, public. Public. Right, we're slowly getting there. Image page content does not conform. Really? Do I have to explicitly make it a page content? Oh, is it because it's not public? Yeah, I guess I do have to make it a page content. Coding's very intimidating until you actually properly get into it, and then you realize that it's only as intimidating as the problems you're trying to solve. It's a bit like saying 3D programming is 3D modeling is intimidating. but if you're learning it bit by bit, it isn't all that intimidating. It's just learning it bit by bit. What I would probably recommend if you did want to try learning coding is look at scripting first. Stuff like, I believe Blender supports scripting of some sort, where you can just write little bits of code, like a few lines, that automate various things or tweak various things. So that is usually a good place to start. Anyway, I need to refill my glass of water because my mouth is rather dry from all that talking. So I'm going to step away for a few minutes to get a fresh drink. And when we get back, we will try to get all of this, all these compiler errors fixed. And yes, I will also do a stretch because I need to stretch out my arms. Hydration checks are something I rarely need because I usually am very good at drinking water or tea or whatever while I am working, but I am very bad at making sure I get all of my stretches in. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Since Something, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back. Hey, I actually had a quick thought when I went away. If I had a more animation control over my character in terms of like stuff to improve the screen, just little things like when someone follows, having the arms come out and wave, or when someone raids, having the screen change to show like who raided or something like that. I mean, does offer a lot of opportunity for various things like that that could be quite fun to play around with in future. Unfortunately, the Ado tube isn't really set up to handle that. That's something where I'd probably have to program that myself and probably do it in 3D. I'd like to try and keep some elements of the cartoonish like look and feel, but I could probably work that out with the textures and shaders and so on. But that's something for the future. For now, we're going to get back to trying to fix compiler errors. Right. Content match. Bit of that. Right, so we want our base string here to be our content match dot string. We want to get rid of this. Keep this. So this is going to be if it's text content. Let text content dot string. Cool. Text content dot text dot string. Otherwise return. Actually, we could change that to a guard. Better. And now undent all that. And delete that. Nope. Need to delete this at the top because that is not of much use to anyone. That can be match range and that can be match range. Okay. Let's see if this works. If I search for page. If I search text. Hey! It's finding it. Here we see here. So if I just search the page, it doesn't show the text there because it always does for text pages, but for image pages we don't bother. But then if I go and search for text, it does show it up there. So the next thing we want to do is, when this is set and it's highlighted, we want to actually highlight the text in the image editor. So we're going to go to our image editor view controller, and we want our text editor view controller. I was meant to hold option down there, so it opened in the opposite thing. What I also want to do is actually commit all that we have so far. What is Coppice 344? Update. Search structure. Right. I also had to nip out this morning to the supermarket. And I actually had a bit of a funny moment because I just needed to get some milk. Now, I was travelling somewhere as well, and had to take one of my parents to a shop nearby as we were heading to do some decorating on their home, do some painting, and I popped into the supermarket to get some milk while that happened, and I ended up grabbing the milk. I'm thinking, it's quiet in here, everything's quiet, and then I went and walked up to the tills. None of the tills were working, and it confused me. Has the system gone down? Have all the tills stopped working? Like, they had big no entry signs on saying that the staff had to log in. So I asked and said, is it just like the self-checkout tills that are broken, or have all the tills broken? He went, oh no, it's before 10 AM. I was like, oh yes, because they can't serve by law until 10 AM, but the shop can be open. So you can go around and pick everything up, you just can't buy anything until 10 AM. And what it made me realise is, going to the supermarket early on a Sunday morning, it's incredibly quiet. And you don't have people going around all the time. And normally I am going on Mondays, which is why I don't stream Monday mornings. But if I went on a Sunday, I would be able to get more work done on a Monday. So hopefully, if I start switching to that, I can't do it from next weekend because it's Easter, but hopefully from the weekend after, I may be able to get even more done on Mondays and stream a bit more on Mondays. Right, so what I want to look here, we have all this stuff around. Right, so let's open that in the opposite editor. Oh, done it again. I pressed. Right, open that there. Text controller, hold option. Right, open them in the correct place. So So on view did appear. Highlight new model. It won't be highlighted range, it will be highlighted rect for the image editor because we need to highlight a certain area. The reason we can use a range is that for the text is that NS Text View works out the rectangle for us. Actually, not expecting that anywhere. Okay. We go down to highlight. We don't want to do that because we're going to set it on. No, we can call that under view. So I think it might be worth doing it in the hotspot view. It seems like a slightly weird place to put it, but it does make a lot of sense because in terms of creating a scaled rectangle, it knows how to do all that stuff. So what we will do so maybe we don't want this stuff in here. What we actually want it was in here. Self. Highlight if necessary. Search, and we'll do private trunk. Highlight if necessary. Oh, brackets. Red equals self.view model dot highlight rect else return self dot hotspot view dot highlight highlight rect. Right, so image editor view model. Mark. Search. Highlight rect optional. And then hotspot view. Highlight. Highlight. Oh, see you, Sinister. And no worries. I will hopefully be streaming same time tomorrow, so hopefully you can make it then as well. And good luck with the animating and the rigging. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. Right. So the first thing I want to do is text editor view model. How am I getting the highlight? Eight. 30. String. Okay, so if we get the match as page content dot match, let's start. What we want to do is not recognize text equals match, but recognize text. Need to start that. We want that dot bounding box for match dot range. then oh no. So what we want, match dot recognize text dot normalize bounding box for let range equal range match dot range in match dot range range dot size 0 and the orientation is the page content orientation. Oh, dot image content dot orientation, yeah. Oh god, let bounding box is that, else and direct. Do anything once we've normalized it, so let's get rid of the guard statement. That should hopefully do us okay. Then what we need to do, text the view model is need subscriber for search string. Do self subscribers dot search string equals a document window view model dot publisher for search string. Leave on dispatch queue main. No, we don't need to do that. So if we update allow to direct with search string, that goes there. That takes us to here. Let's create Let's see if this works. Now that we can get a range. Okay. Right. Right, so what we want to do now is look for the correct colour. So, what I do there is bring up a text edit, go here, and we have find highlight colour, that's what we want. That, right. So we have alpha component. Let's do 0.3 dot layer dot border color dot find highlight color dot layer dot border width equals 2. Yeah, dot on a radius equals 5. bn x give us a way get like the actual character. Oh, character boxes. Revenue. Hmm. I mean, we're only flashing it up briefly, aren't we? So, do Oh, I can do that immediately, but we'll make this, let's say 2 seconds. Alpha 0 completion. View dot remove from super view. Actually, I've got highlight view. Oh. And I'll do a did set. Old value equal old value dot remove from super view. If that new highlight view. Add sub view. Hello, Buffer. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? Right, so we've got a highlight, got all that. Let's see if our animation works. Bring this across and type next. Okay, so that maybe needs to be 1 second. Oh. Second. Next. Faster. At 0.5 then. Now let's do 0.6. Oh. I see what it's doing. Oh, thanks for the follow, Buffer. Currently just trying to get an animation that somewhat matches what Apple has. In fact, let's screen recording here. What we'll do is switch away, switch back, and stop that. Then we will open this up and have a look. Bit janky on Apple's part. Animate correctly. Oh, this project. This is my indie app, Coppice, which is designed to let you basically collect all your thoughts and ideas and put them together on an ever-expanding canvas. So you add text and images, you can link them together, and then if you are, for example, just here, and you click a link, it navigates to it. But if you're on a canvas, it opens it up, and it can go along, and it will remember previous things you opened. And if you move things about, then you close, and as long as you've got the root page open, opens them up again. So it's useful for longer term projects. So if you're learning something, if you're writing, I've got people who are authors who are using it, who are writing books. I use it myself for either learning new stuff, for building I run some Dungeons and Dragons campaigns and other RPGs. So I've used it there for keeping track of the world and everything. So it's just a tool for collecting all your thoughts and stuff together. And what we're specifically working on is image searching, because we've recently got Apple's APIs built in for doing text recognition. So we have I got it enabled? Yeah, auto detect page titles enabled. So if I go over here, we have an image here with some content in. If I got a page here called text pages, at the moment that is text pages plural. If I was to, I forget about that bug. If I was to take the S off and just leave it plain text page, a rectangle has just appeared on this image, and it's now linking to text page. So we've got that for auto linking, but what we also want to have is searching, and it uses all the same logic here, where if you type in text, it now displays a highlight over it. And what I'm currently doing is playing around with the actual animation to get that working sort of similarly to Apple's animation, which I believe is out on bugs in macOS. Never a lot of fun to deal with. So what I'm looking at is how Apple's animation works. So it appears immediately, grows and shrinks. So it appears, grows and shrinks, then fades out. Let's see if we can get precisely how long these take. So where is that? 48. That's a tenth of a second. And then half a second. Yeah, it's a basic graph structure. Well, it's not really a graph structure. At the moment, it's just a tree structure. So what I have, if I show you the data model, you have the page type, and so you've got a page, you've got a canvas, and yeah. So in terms of the actual linking, it's basically stored in the content. So the links are how can I actually show this off? Unfortunately, in the past version, I fixed something that would have let me show you what it looks like. But these are basically just URLs. And they're all URLs that when it comes through, it actually creates a link. When it actually displays it on the canvas, then it creates a canvas page, and these basically just have a basic parent-child relationship. Now, the way I initially had it is you would have a root object, which is a page that you've dragged out, and then you click on the link and it links to that. But if another link also links to the same page, it doesn't visually link to the same page, it opens it again. So it's like a link on the page is a one-to-one to another page. In fact, I can show you that a bit more visually. So we've got this here that goes to pages, but if I create a if I just type in pages, well, the auto linking finds that. Oh, okay. It does from the same page, but I don't even know how my own app works. So that works, but for example, from here, text pages. So we've gone from here, welcome to Coppice to pages to text pages. It has detected pages here. If I click that, that has opened pages over here. I'm going to be working to fix the auto opening thing because it's a bit broken at the moment. But you see, we've got pages here, pages here. So you're going from here to pages to text pages to pages. So it doesn't actually cycle back. For a future version, possibly the next version after the one I'm working on, I am going to look at adding the ability to actually create the cycles back and forth and have multiple pages link. And if you have pages existing on the canvas, add links between them. Because I've had a few people ask about that functionality. So rather than it just branching out in a child-parent tree, you're going to have the ability to do a full graph back and forth between. I haven't fully settled on whether I'm doing that. There are some things that I want to do, but that is something that some people have requested, so I may play around with that, so we'll see. Let's see. Let me just connect auto linking and OCR. Yeah, so that actually was what I worked on Thursday. I mean, the OCR bit is the simplest bit. Now, Apple's Vision APIs are pretty simple. What I have up here in the image page link manager, this is basically all the OCR stuff. I create a request handler. I create a recognized text request. Pass in the recognition languages. So this supports all the languages Apple supports, which for macOS 11 and above, I believe is English, Spanish, German, French, Italian, and Chinese. But it does that upon the request. When I get the results, I basically go through and throw away a few of them because some of them, it's very accurate, but it's like very good at finding single characters, and it's very confident of that, but we don't care about those. Whereas it doesn't seem very confident about finding long strings, but it is very accurate at finding those long strings. So we allow a much longer string. So we filter out some stuff, and then the hotspot generation is just, it basically goes through and does all the same thing it does for text, except it does it for images, and it pulls out the actual bounding rect. And this is why we save our recognized text, because the actual results get persisted to disk. But this ideally should only run when an image changes, which should make things more efficient. And what that allows us to do is, where is it in the view model? Yeah, get the recognized text and get the bounding box for it, because we don't, like, we have the recognized text in the overall text, but we do not have the bounding box because we don't know what the search string is until that point. So that's why we save those. But I think I know what Apple is doing now. So we're going to have the alpha value. What we want to do is, so this is going to be a 0.05 and view.layer.transform equals a CA 3D X scale. Let's do 1.1, 1.1, 0.1. So that 1.1, 1.11. Then on a completion, want to animate again 0.05 to view.layer.transform equals 1. And then in half a second we want to fade out and then remove. Build failed. Why? Oh yeah, because transform needs to be CA transform CA transform 3D identity. So if we bring this up now, I'm going to have a look. X. Okay, let's make it 0.1.1. In fact, how are we doing this? Let's 0.5.51. Just make sure that we get the animation correct before we actually go and start. Can we do it this way? Actually, now let's see if we can do it this way. I'm going to assume no. In which case we're going to have to get a bit more complex with this. Yeah. Okay. CA. So what we're going to do is on our actual view. Right, so this should scale up and then scale down. You spent 2 days debugging an issue that turned out me forgetting that adding to a C pointer adds a multiple of its size. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Right, if I do X. Okay, so we're going to increase that to 0.2. The duration is going to be 0.2. Okay, so the next thing we need this is where I need to get a book. And the book is one that is still incredibly useful if you're doing core animation, despite the fact that it was published in 2008. It's 14 years old. It's probably been updated since then. In fact, let's see if I can find it for you online. If it is still being sold. No, it doesn't seem to be sold anymore. No, it is not Chris Adamson's book. It is Bill Dudney's book, Core Animation for Mac OS X and the iPhone. I mean, this will show you the sort of time frame it was. These are some of the recommendations in the front, some of the names. So Chris Adamson is actually one of the first names in there. You've got Steve Scott, Andrew Stone, Daniel Jalcutt, John C. Fox, Danny Gregg. These are some of the names in the front of it. But yeah, this was written by Bill Dudney about 14 years ago. For those of you who do not know Bill Dudney, he was very much an expert in core animation, and I believe now still works at Apple. But he wrote a book all on core animation. And I have books on various other subjects. I have like Coco design patterns, Coco programming for macOS 10, advanced macOS 10 programming, Marcus Sora's code data book. The thing is, all of those have generally become outdated. Whereas the only thing really outdated about the core animation book I find is it's all in Objective-C. This is still 14 years later, still an incredibly useful reference for core animation. Though unfortunately it's not sold anymore. Most of those other books have been updated at some point. Grouping animations. Page 28. Right, so can an animation have a delay on it? No, what I want to have is an animation that starts immediately after Another animation. Let's look through the contents. Animation time. Chaining animations. That's what we want. Page 48. Animation coming up. Need to appear to follow one another. When to accomplish is provide the delegate for the first animation. Let's see when the animation is finished. I wonder if they added animation.com now. Be nice if they'd added some sort of completion block. Rather than just having to use. I wonder if in this animation context, completion block actually work with this. Worth testing. And this animation context. Dot run animation group. Changes. Pick this up here. Do this. Print completed. Don't actually care about the context. And we will build and run and see what goes on. Right, so if we text let's change that to a 2 for now. Sam, thank you for following. Hope you're doing well today. Hope you're enjoying the stream while we try and get some animation working. Okay, so that does work. So we can do that, and then we can do nsview dot animate with duration 0.5. We'll do view dot alpha value equals 0. Completion view dot self dot highlight view equals L. Change that 0.2. Get rid of the blank lines. X. Think make that a bit bigger. I'm not sure there's an API for the find animation in general. There is for NS Text View. That's what I'm using for the flashing, but I don't think there is one in general. I think that looks good now. It finds it. If I go there, yeah, I think having it be a bigger jump helps a lot. Yeah. Finds it in Helvetica. It can feel a little too short, but if I search for text, well, I'm using the standard animation here. If I was to bring these up, next one of it, let's do a screen recording. I believe mine is actually like slowed down compared to Apple's. Right, let's just quickly record this. We'll go here, switch to there, and then stop. If we bring this up, oh, yes, it does that sometimes. Have to give it a second after it starts. Then we'll go to there. And then we'll stop. So I get big and then slow down. And then we both fade out. That's actually almost identical. The only difference is Apple seems to get bigger quicker at the start. They really jump up. And then it fades out. So it's about the same, I would say, for flashing it up. So yeah, I think I am pretty happy with that. So I will commit that. Yeah, maybe it does need some sort of delay. I mean, one thing I was thinking is if I click on this cell again and again and again, oh, sorry. If I click on the cell again and again and again, I think it should flash again. Like, even though it's already selected, I think clicking on it should flash again. But that's something that we can play around with some other time. But I think for that, implement flashing search result. Oh, add flashing search result in image editor. Push that up. I think that we can actually celebrate because that is Coppice 2022.1 feature complete. Now, of course, feature complete is when you have got the initial 80% done. We then have the subsequent 80% of any software release to implement. So we still have a lot to do. There are bug fixes. There are performance improvements I want to make. We need to update all the various first launch experience stuff. Things such as what's new in Coppice. That needs updating. The entire help menu needs updating, but that's an interesting process where all of this is actually pulled from my website and built into the app. But we will need to update that. We need to update the website, the press kit. So there's a lot of stuff needed for release. We are still several weeks away from release at this point. But we're now feature complete. And I'm now confident that we should be able to get this out hopefully towards the end of April, if not the very start of May. And from then on, the releases should hopefully be a bit better. This was the last release where I had a fixed feature list that I wanted in. I wanted image linking, I wanted image searching, I wanted cropping and rotation, and I wanted all the auto image linking. In future, I have like vague ideas. So the 2022.2 release is going to be stuff around canvases. I have no idea what exactly that's going to entail. That is something that on stream we're going to sit down and think of all the things we could do on the canvas and work out what could we get done by the end of the summer. And then the final release of the year, 2022.3, is going to be a few quality of life improvements, but mostly focused on me bringing Coppice to the Mac App Store. So those releases are a bit more focused on what can we get done in the time, rather than these are the features we need to get in. So that'll be interesting, but for the rest of this month, all the streams are probably going to be on bug fixing, performance improvements. So we're going to be hunting through instruments to see how we can fix things, because for example, that is not tracking my mouse. That should track my mouse. If you're seeing on stream and it's not like moving smoothly, that's what it looks like on my display too. And that should not be that slow. So we're going to see how we can improve that. We may not be able to improve it for this release. It may have to be for the next release, because I am worried that it is the fact that these are all NS text views. And this was a fun thing where there's a bug that almost killed the entire thing, because NS text view does not like it when you go like that. So I had to use a bit of a hack to do that. That required my friend Steve Troughton-Smith going spelunking through AppKit with me using the Hopper disassembly app and disassembling Apple's frameworks to figure out what was going wrong, and then finding a magic hidden setting that I got Apple, that the AppKit engineers, I wouldn't say blessing, but they said it should continue working. We're not going to cause issues about it, and we'll actually look at fixing the bug for future releases. So yeah, we'll have a look at that. If the number of text views is the issue, I'm going to have to switch to actually just rendering these as straight images that I can move around, and there's stuff that we'll have to play around with. But yeah, I think for today that'll do it. I got to where I wanted to get to, which was get feature complete by, well, it was by the end of Monday, but given how well Thursday went, I was wanting to get feature complete by the end of Friday, but then a cold intervened. So we will see what else we can get done over the next few days. I believe it is layer backed. I believe the whole thing is layer backed. Canvas page scroller. Yeah, it is layer backed because I'm actually performing animations and stuff on it. So the animation that I stole for doing these stuff, if you click, I'm actually doing a nice laid-back animation. What it could actually be is it's either going to be the text views, or it's going to be the layout engine, because I have done some tweaks to the layout engine, so that could be slowing it down, or it could be the arrow drawing. Now, I don't think it's the arrow drawing. I think it could be the layout engine, but this is what we will find out. We will explore instruments, and for those of you who have never used instruments, who have ever felt daunted with instruments, we'll be going through this and learning some stuff, figuring out what sort of things we can potentially find out. So let's see, are there any Mac or iOS developers online? Unfortunately, it looks like there aren't. Okay, well, in that case, we will, I mean, it's not surprising, it is a Sunday, but we will call the stream there then. Hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow, same time, 2 PM UK time, for the usual time of the Coppice Dev stream, where we will start going through some of this performance stuff and some of these improvements, and we'll probably have another pass through the app and have a look for all these little things that we could do to improve and polish things further. But for the next month, we are in release mode. So I want to thank you all for joining me on this Sunday. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of your weekend, and until we meet again, as always, happy coding.